Alright there folks, and welcome to episode 3 in this Dauntless discussion series in which we highlight hidden lore locations, we elaborate on Behemoths, Fauna, Gatherables, and island events in the hunting grounds of Dauntless. With the first two videos in this series doing pretty well and getting good feedback from both old and new subscribers, I've decided just to push on and do a video for pretty much all the hunting ground islands in Dauntless. So if we go to the Slayer's Path and go all the way to the bottom to the Hunter Crafter section, you find where you can unlock Revelation Rock. Chart a route to the ruinous canyons of Revelation Rock, unlock islands and gain access to the resources and the behemoths that dwell there. And here there are the Lesser Quillshot, the Lesser Gnasher, the Lesser Boreas, and the Boreas. So to check out the description of the island itself, it's a level 2 to 4 island, so still very easy, but this one is much bigger. So the guaranteed behemoth here is the Quillshot. There will always be at least one Quillshot on the island. The local flora is the Iron Thistle, which we've seen before. We've got the Slayer Boon, which is common, and the Dash Leaf, which is very rare. An aptly named island that's home to unusual rock formations and little else, aside from behemoths. Though there are some signs of larger cargo ships that might have dropped anchor here in the distant past. No other major signs of human habitation seem to be evident. This is also the first island that we're going to visit that has an island event, which is an Ether Surge. Ether Surges are common occurrences across the hunting grounds, attracting powerful behemoths and other hostile creatures. So of course we're going to explore this island event in Revelation Rock. So here we are folks, on the third island of the hunting grounds, Revelation Rock. And it might not seem it at first, but this island is much bigger than the first two we visited. It's probably actually bigger than the both of them put together. It's densely packed with Gatherables and forests and a lot more spawning points for behemoths and fauna and things like that. Which means there's also a lot more places that things like chests and lore locations can be hidden. And right here just as you arrive, we have the first rare Gatherable of the island, which is the Dash Leaf. Another really useful gatherable if you're making tonics and potions. At the top of this rock here you can see we have a Gruck, which I introduced you to in the last video. These lethal wee bastards just recently got nerfed by the developers, which was a bit of a shame. I quite enjoyed the extra threat they had and the amount of damage that they did, but no longer. The developers listened to community feedback quite a lot, and the Grucks are now less of a threat. And I think for this island tour, what we'll do is we'll head down the east of the island, up to the north, and then circle round by finishing on the west. Mainly because on the east of the island, although hard to find because it's hidden right in there, we have the lore location, hidden in amongst these trees. To the left there you can see the second spawn point for behemoths, where you can see a Boreas fighting against some other people. And behind me, we have some fauna just swooped in. We've met these guys before, but you'll find on these later islands that more spawn at a time. And as promised, we'll share the lore location, which, as I said, was quite hard to find because it is hidden in amongst these trees, and it's not that exciting, but it is the Gnasher sign. If the smell didn't give it away, the deep axe-like markings on the wrecked trees and torn earth scattered haphazardly around the site makes it clear. A hungry Gnasher was here, feeding on the scraps of ether anywhere it could find them. Yeah, as I said, definitely not the most exciting lore location. And usually with these videos, I take you to the start of the island and show you exactly where the lore location is, but it's just so easy to find. It's just right there to the right of the map. You just go into these trees here and you'll find it. Easy as that. Now heading down the right of this island, you can just see how densely packed with trees it is, and there they've just taken that Boreas down. I'll just swoop in at the last minute and gather up some Gatherables. It's just in the distance there, where the sun creeps in amongst the trees, you can see that we have the first chest of the island. As I said, these chests seem to change in position, so it's not a case of being able to tell you exactly where the chests will be, because I can't guarantee you they're going to be in the same place every single time. But we'll push on further down the east side of the island. And just down in the valley there you can see we have the first Quillshot of this series. Now I've always considered the Quillshot to not be too much of a threat. Some people differ on that opinion, but I've just never really struggled against it. If you're going against more powerful Quillshots in higher islands, then they can do quite a lot of damage. In fact, they can do a lot of damage when they shoot out their quills. But if you keep moving and you keep dodging, as you can see here, then I don't really find them too much of a threat. I've always felt they can be a little bit predictable when they go to hit you, and they spend a lot of time preparing to shoot you with your quills. If you keep rolling and keep moving about dodging it, then I just don't feel it's too much of a threat to go against. As you can see here, easily taken care of. But this was a much less powerful example of a quill shot. More powerful ones can do a lot of damage. In fact, I have been one-shotted by a quill on numerous occasions during escalations in more difficult hunting grounds. But for the most part, keep moving, keep rolling around, dodge those quills, dodge those usually predictable attacks, and you should be alright. It's the far east of the island here, and I've been looking forward to this moment because we've now came across what is my favourite creature, fauna, behemoth or whatever, from Dauntless, and that is a smollusk. These little guys, as I said, are neutral fauna, so they don't intentionally go to attack you, they just wander about, sliding around with their googly eyes, and their wee faces, and their little fart noises they make. I mean, how can you not like these little guys? They're just so harmless. That is until you walk into their slime. This is an example of a frost mollusk. There are all different elements and they all have varying impacts on you if you are to walk into them. But this little guy, I think I'm not going to kill him because he's just harmless and he's just wandering about on the side of the island here. Leave him be. Now as we approach the north of the island, still thinking about that little smollusk we left back there, we're going to take a little detour because this ether vent here, and there are ether vents like it, is going to take us up to this platform here. And you always want to go up to these platforms. Not only does it give you a lovely view of the island, but it's also a really good place for finding chests at fauna and sometimes lore locations on other islands. As you can see, there's a chest right here, and there usually always is one on one of these high up platforms. Now back down to the north of the island where we left off, we can see there's another chest here as we just go round to the eastern side, and there we have the third spawn point for the behemoths on this island, which is another gnasher, common as muck. We've dealt with these guys plenty of times on this series, so we'll just quickly deal with this guy because I can hear the island event kicking off in the background. So you might notice I've just had to put my light on there. I didn't realise how dark it was getting. This time of year here in Scotland, the nights are starting to get a little bit shorter, which is a good sign, but it does get dark still very quickly. 1 minute it's light and then you look outside and it's dark again. Anyway, enough about that because we've dealt with that gnasher. We'll just push on to the island ether event, which is way back, as we'll see in the HUD there, to the very beginning of the island. So island events happen periodically and they get much harder depending on what island you're on. Here you can see we've got a whole herd of Gruk here that we're going to have to deal with before a behemoth will show up, followed by another 2 behemoths at once. Usually you want to wait until everyone on the island gathers for the event, but not everyone does. Luckily with this little event, I can usually just deal with it myself, although these Gruks are knocking me about. So once the timer runs out and the event starts, we get a quill shot, which is the first behemoth of this island event, which, as I said, could be dealt with by myself on these earlier islands, but with later islands, dealing with island events, you're going to need a lot of help unless you're an absolute pro at the game. So once the first quill shot's been taken down, any second now, there we go, the second 2 are going to spawn in. So we have 2 quill shots to take down at once. On these earlier islands, not too much of a challenge I would imagine, but when you get to latter islands, latter events, which we will cover in another video, it's an absolute nightmare sometimes, taking on 2 different behemoths, much like when you're doing escalations. So after completing the island event, if you go right to the centre, you'll see this little glowing line here, and a cube appears, and that's where you get your prize, where you get all sorts of rewards, behemoth parts, rams, merits, things like that. Obviously, the rewards increase depending on the difficulty of the island event. But there we go, there we have it, the first ever island event that we've covered in this series. And it's something that I'm glad they added to Dauntless. I feel like the hunting grounds would probably, although I do enjoy the hunting grounds, I feel like they would probably be a little bit bland if they didn't have these island events that really add to the challenge. So back where we left off before that event, to the far northwest side of the island. And I mean, now we've explored where the lore location is, we've elaborated on the behemoths that you get here, some of the foliage, some of the fauna, and the island event itself. The only thing really left to do is round up this little circle and just show off the very last remnants of this map. Heading down the western side back to the south where we started, you can see this is just a cliff area, but you do find quite a lot of chests in this area, so it's worth just looking around all these little cracks and crevices and in all these heavily wooded areas. And down just this little southwestern corner we can see there's absolutely nothing else, so I'll just take us right back up to the start again. So this has been my little tour and analysis of Revelation Rock. Again, not one of the most exciting islands on the hunting grounds, but it is much bigger than the first two, and there is an island event, which adds a lot to the challenge. If you feel like I've missed anything at all, or if there's anything else that you'd like to comment on or elaborate on upon, please feel free to leave it in the comments section below. But until next time, see you later.